This is part 1 of The Responsibility of the Firstfruits by the Honorable Yahweh Beit Nusofi Yahweh Yahweh Ben Yahweh.
Welcome to Feast of Weeks. You're in the presence of the nation of Yahweh, resurrected from the so-called black man of America, the first fruits. And tonight we will continue to learn our responsibilities as the first fruits. We are the first fruits of the house of Jacob. We're the first fruits of the house of Israel. We are the first fruits from among the so-called blacks of America to constitute the nation of Yahweh. And the name Yahweh is found all over the earth, and it is found among all scholastic references and reference books, namely your Encyclopedia Britannicas, your Bible interpreters' dictionaries. The name Yahweh is found in many different Bibles, such as New Jerusalem Bible, the Septuagint. It is found in the short version with the wrong letter in front of it, even in the King James Version of the Bible. Certainly found in your dictionaries. No one of intelligence will debate today about Yahweh being the name of the God of Israel. When I first started teaching 10 years ago, there was great debate, but it's hard to find debate today. That's my work, and that's because of my work. So intelligent people are passing this on to other intelligent people who have to bear witness that according to all of the scholastic references, Yahweh is indeed the only name of God. The God of the Bible, the Hebrew God, the God of history that got things done. And we are the first fruits of the God of the Bible, whose name is Yahweh. Feast of Weeks is also an agricultural feast, and it is a rite that honors Yahweh as the sovereign one. Feast of Weeks honors Yahweh as the God of Israel, the sovereign one of Israel. And the Feast of Weeks also recognizes the fraternal responsibility uniting the nation of Yahweh together, which is bound by our agreement with Yahweh and his agreement with us. In fact, the reason that I'm in your midst in America, refreshing your memory relative to the Feast of Weeks and other high holies of Yahweh, high holy days of Yahweh, is because of Yahweh's agreement with our fathers. Though you've done absolutely nothing to attract Yahweh to you, you have done absolutely nothing as a people to cause Yahweh to remember his covenant with us, his agreement with us. In fact, your life in America has done nothing to enhance the knowledge of Yahweh, nor would you be classified as a people that Yahweh could be proud of. You are a people who display an illogical mindset when Yahweh is in fact the logical God. You're people going backwards who love foolishness. They destroyed people. In fact, you didn't send for me. You didn't send for Yahweh and no representative of Yahweh to come and help you out of your condition. And you have to admit, so-called black people of America have a serious problem. Even foolish people know we have a problem. And you've never sent for the right one with the right solution. Yet the only one with the only solution is standing before you today. Praise God. There are many ways that I know I have the only solution. It's because the major reason is I have put into practice the solution that my Father gave in the Bible for you as a solution. And it works. My people are trying all kinds of avenues, none of which work. Many live for a dream, and they try to keep a dream alive, and it keeps turning into nightmares. Regardless of what you try and have tried, and whatever you will try outside of my Father, Yahweh, will never work. Last night, I successfully connected you to Yahweh, and I think I successfully disconnected you from Cinderella. And all of you that gave up Cinderella and Santa Claus are indeed taking on a new mindset. Feast of Weeks is also called the Feast of Harvest. And the Feast of Harvest recalls all of the great acts of Yahweh, such as Israel's deliverance from slavery in Egypt, which means our deliverance from slavery in Egypt. We, the so-called black people of America, have now been in slavery twice in recent years. Once during the time of Moses, we were in slavery, and here we are back in slavery again for the last 435 years in America. Tricked and deceived into thinking we were set free in 1865, but we don't act like free people. We demonstrate the mentality of a dependent people. We demonstrate the mentality and the emotionalism of a baby that refuses to be weaned, and yet the mother is determined to wean you. The one acting as your false mother is the white man, and any other nation that cares to come and take advantage of you, such as Cubans are doing in this city today. Koreans doing it in some of your areas, Japanese are doing it in others. It's just anyone who chooses to take advantage of you, do so. Even people from Africa who look like us and darker than most of us take advantage of you. I was shared a testimony later. Some of our brothers from Ethiopia are here in this country, And they said they are here to get rich from the so-called black man's pocket of America, because they heard in Ethiopia that black people in America love to spend their money with everybody but themselves. And told us that because they know we are conscious. We are awake and we are conscious. And it's a fact. We will spend with anybody regardless of his color, so long as it's not one of us. As soon as we hear he's a descendant from a slave like the rest of us, we're not going to spend money with those. And those who are blessed to sit under my teachings and enter my school are given irrefutable evidence that we have been taught to think illogically, and we are without the knowledge of our true self. And that when we come into the knowledge of our true self, a change takes place in our lives. And only when you come into the knowledge of your true self can you love yourself. And you can never, ever love your neighbor without first loving yourself. You can't possibly love me until you first love yourself. A man without self-love hates everybody in the world while he pretends to love his enemy. When he says he loves everybody, he's a liar. He only loves those who give him his paycheck. And he doesn't love them. He tears down everything anybody builds. For those of us who are resurrected into the nation of Yahweh, we are learning of the great acts of Yahweh and our deliverance from slavery. Simultaneously, we learn that we are heirs of all the promises of the Bible. That means we learn knowledge of our inheritance of the land of promise. We, the so-called blacks of America, are heirs to the land of promise. Most of us live in the city and don't own anything, and don't think about owning anything. As we come into the knowledge of our history, culture, and language, name, and land, we find out that the Feast of Harvest celebrates Yahweh as the giver of grain. When we study grain, you can drop the G and learn that he's the giver of rain. And we know from study that there is no life without water. And there are no successful crops without rain for the harvest. And all we have to do to have rain in due season on our crops is obey the will of Yahweh, obey the laws of Yahweh. And he keeps his promise to us by giving us rain in due season. He gives us rain for our crops when we need it. When we don't need it, it's withheld. We learn this is the character of Yahweh. There's no such thing as Mother Nature. You can't look at nature and say, "Hi, Mom." Yahweh is man. Yahweh is divine mind. And it is he that controls nature. It is Yahweh that is the giver of the rain. He's the giver of the grain. Our history is sacred because our Father is to be regarded in a sacred manner. We're taught to have a ceremony for the offering of the first fruits. And ceremony is an institution. It means that the first fruits as a high holy day for us as Israel is to be an institution. We are to institutionalize our high holy day. Now, the Feast of Harvest, the Feast of Weeks, requires you to present your first fruit to Yahweh. But you must do this of your own free will. It is not my job to force you. It is my job to simply teach you. Consequently, I'm going to need that scripture which says, whosoever will, let him come. Revelation chapter 22, verse 17. Read.
And the Spirit and the bride say, come. And let him that heareth say, come. And let him that is athirst come. And whosoever will, let him take the water of life freely.
What I'm offering you tonight is free. You may freely come, you may freely drink from the water of life. That's what I offer you. The water of life. And all of you who are thirsty for the water of life, you may come of your own free will and drink to your content. And no matter how much you drink, it will not diminish my supply. Again, you are required, the Feast of Weeks requires you to present your first fruits to Yahweh. That means that the first fruit you pick off the tree, 10% of that tree goes to Yahweh when? First. I don't care how hungry you are or how hungry your children are or how hungry anybody in the world is. The first 10% goes to Yahweh. Is that logical? Yes, sir. Well, what is so logical about it? It's the fact that the tree was created by Yahweh. And it was created to give its fruit by Yahweh. And the seed that is within the fruit carries the germ of life to produce another tree and fruit like the one you are offered to eat. And it is Yahweh who created the earth that the tree takes root in. It is Yahweh who created the system that sustains the tree. It is Yahweh who gives the tree the water that it needs to live. And the carbon dioxide, is it? To breathe in. It is Yahweh that did all of this. And after doing this and making the fruit of the tree good for you to eat, that which he tells you is good for you, then isn't it logical for him to require you to give to him first of that is already his? That he is so bountifully willing to share with you 90% of it? But your only requirement is to give him 10% of it first? Now look at the nature of Yahweh. The nature of Yahweh taught here through the first fruits, the first Feast of Weeks, is Yahweh gives you 90% of what's his. He doesn't have to give you anything. It's all his. And he says, my requirement from you who appreciate me is 10% first of what's mine. I'll do all I need to do with the 10%. Now surely you can do more with 90% than I can do with 10. Yet I'm giving you 90% of my creation. Just give me my 10% off the top. And Yahweh follows that rule through all of your life, in every aspect of your life. He just says, of all that you have and all that you get your hands on, give me 10% of it. When? First. And if you do, I'll open the windows of heaven for you and pour you out blessings that you will not have room enough to receive. That's what the Feast of Weeks is all about. Teaching you the responsibility of the first fruits. Since you're the first fruits, you're the first ones to be born into the knowledge of Yahweh, then you have to learn your responsibility to Yahweh, and you learn it through the Feast of Weeks. What do you learn? I repeat. You learn to present your first fruits, your first income. You do that to Yahweh. And then I teach you the order that things should work. Put Yahweh, it's order. Put him first. Okay? Put Yahweh and yourself first. But the beauty of what I have shared with you and leaked out just now is that nothing you do is going to work unless you put Yahweh first. And you can't go back and say, I'm giving it to God. No. God is not my name. And your illogical mind has been lying to you all your life. Every time you said you have given your offering to God, you're a liar. Because if you've been giving your money to God, I logically have to ask you, where is he? Where is his bank? Where was he located? Surely you can tell me what he looks like. If you gave it to him, he must have been material being because you took a material substance out of your pocket and left it somewhere. Somebody else took it. Somebody else counted it. No, you didn't give it to God. You gave it to the preacher. Now that's who you gave it to. And that's who your mama gave it to. And that's who your grandmama gave it to. And that's who your great-grandmama gave it to. And your room is empty of blessings. You get sick and can't go to your God. Now, when you give to Yahweh, you know exactly where you're giving it. And you know who you're giving it to. And then you can see visibly what Yahweh is doing with what you give to him. It's self-evident. Now, your enemy wishes you would not give your money to Yahweh. See, my name is Yahweh Ben Yahweh. And if you don't know who to give your money to, you give it to me. But when you give to Yahweh, you see what I do with it. I don't say give it to Yahweh and then I divert it to my personal bank account and my personal use. I don't do that. What would I look like taking Yahweh's money and then pay myself a salary out of his money? Did he tell me to do that? Oh, hallelujah, Yahweh. Isn't it wonderful to see good works going on here? Now, people on the outside looking in can see the power manifested, but don't understand the secret of manifestation. Woo. So the outside world is awed at what we accomplish, and the rest of us learn who obey the will of Yahweh. It's a blessing to follow the laws of Yahweh. It's a law that we put him first. It's his law as our creator that we give to him our first fruits. Is that logical? Not only is he our life giver, but when we follow his laws, they bring us perfect health. And we who try what he teaches are witnesses that when we keep our minds stayed on him, what do we enjoy? Absolutely. If you don't have peace, your mind slipped off Yahweh. Yes. And there's always somebody who would like to get your mind off Yahweh. Why? Because they are already unhappy. Why are they unhappy? Mine is not on Yahweh. They don't know Yahweh. Yahweh is not first in their life. I've just told you God is a title. See, this is not an emotional teaching. This is a logical teaching. This is reality. Go look up the word God, and you will discover it's a title. God is not a name of anything for anybody. It's only a title. You about a man whose name is Yahweh, that carries all power just in his name. All that I teach you is from this name, the knowledge of this name. In fact, King Solomon was ascribed to be the wisest king to have ever lived, and his fame and glory was due to the name Yahweh. I say it's a blessing to learn what Yahweh requires of us, and that he indeed requires us to present to him our first fruits, but that we must do this of our own free will. Yahweh doesn't want you to feel coerced into worshiping him. Yahweh doesn't want to feel that you are forced into serving him. In fact, if you don't give to Yahweh cheerfully, it's a curse. Let's go to the scripture. Yahweh blesses the cheerful giver. And the only way that you can give to Yahweh cheerfully is to understand who Yahweh is in relationship to you and who you are in relationship to Yahweh. And when you understand that relationship, then you understand the benefits of obeying his will for you, because it turns out to be a blessing. Where is it? Second what? 2 Corinthians 9:7. 2 Corinthians. Chapter 9, verse 7. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7. Read.
Every man according as he proposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for Yahweh loveth a cheerful giver.
Some people will give to Yahweh because they want a blessing. I don't really want to give it, but I want to see if I can buy something from Yahweh. Boy, you're in trouble. That's not the way to get love from Yahweh. Yahweh loves what kind of giver? The cheerful giver. You can't give out of necessity. Necessity means from compulsion, like forced. Grudgingly means from pain. You see, Yahweh doesn't want a thing from you that gives you pain to give it. It's like, wow, why are you requiring this of me? Goodness, I'll give it, because you God, you know. But I mean, I really don't want to give it. But right now, I'm hurting so bad. I'll go on and give it. But I'd really rather give what I have to somebody else other than you, Yahweh. Truly insane. Yeah, that's an insane mind, but we are illogical people. My people are illogical. Some people would rather give their money to a woman that they have a heavy lust Jones for than give it to Yahweh. And some women, you're not going to get away either. I said some women would rather give their money to a man they have a lust Jones for than give it to Yahweh. And we'll make an excuse like, See, Yahweh understands how I feel about this person. We relying on Yahweh's understanding. See, Yahweh is not going to understand you giving the first fruit to your lover. He just isn't going to understand it. Yahweh is not going to understand you giving your first fruits to the power company. Say, but my lights are going out. Rearrange your life. Yahweh just doesn't understand that. You should learn how to budget. Live within your means. You must be living beyond your means. That you want to take Yahweh's first fruits and pay your light bill. Maybe you should go to bed with the chickens. Or go to bed when the birds go. You're too poor to have chickens? Just go to bed when the sun go down then. Maybe you could pay your light. You don't need lights in the daytime. Maybe you don't need a TV and a radio and a jukebox. I'm here to tell you, Yahweh is never going to understand you giving your first fruits to the man that holds your mortgage or to make your car payment. Yahweh doesn't understand none of that. So just stop lying on Yahweh, talking about Yahweh understand. Don't understand none of that. And I'm his son, and I don't understand it. And I'm here to tell you I don't understand it. And I'm never going to understand it. And I hope you learn to understand why you don't have blessings in your life. And why you can't climb up to heaven where my windows are and open the window on your own and climb in and get your blessing. See, you can climb Jacob's ladder all you want to. But you're never going to ascend into heaven with the angels. Okay, how hard and how long and how high you climb, you'll never get there until you give Yahweh your first fruits, all of it, first. Is that clear? Anybody need a point of clarity on that? Whatever you have, first part of it belongs to Yahweh. You have 10 apples in a bag. When I walk by, you owe me one. You walking down the street and find $10, you owe me $1 first. Don't be talking about, whoa, look what Yahweh blessed me with. Yeah, you blessed me with my $1 first. Then you can be happy about the 9. Your enemy has taught you to hate yourself and hate your God and not know your God. So you want everything you can get your hands on to do with as you please. And you never have anything. You always give it away to other people. But when you learn this law of Feast of Weeks, you will begin to have ever increasing wealth. Ever increasing wealth is yours when you keep this law right here of your own free will. You have to be happy about this. But it takes great discipline to put your Creator first in your life. Yes, it does take great discipline because you're not used to doing it. Now, people who don't hear my message simply are not blessed by my message. But once you encounter me and begin to put into practice what I teach, you have ever increasing wealth. I said ever increasing wealth. Your wealth cannot remain static. It's impossible with what I teach. When you enter my school and take my yoke upon you and learn of me, put into practice, put in Yahweh first, you have ever increasing wealth. When does it start? Right now. How many of you believe what I teach? How many of you are practicing what I teach? And how many of you have ever increasing wealth? How many of you find it's impossible to ever be broke again in your life? Now, when you don't practice what I teach, you can get hold of some money, and all the money you get hold to is ever decreasing wealth. You keep coming and getting it until what happens? It's all gone. Yeah. You can't stand to have money. It drives you nuts. Without Yahweh first in your life, money, knowing you have some money on hand, drives you back. I mean, you just keep going to the bank until it's gone. And when you don't practice what I teach, you forget to keep adding to it. And when you forget to add to it, your life begins to fall apart. Next thing you know, you'll be without a job and can't increase the good of your circumstances. But when you put Yahweh first, if your job plays out, Yahweh will bless you to get another one. Oh yeah, you get another one. Just like that. I don't care who you are, where you live, you'll get another one. It comes just like that. Why? Because if you ask anything in my name, I will give it to you. This proves that Yahweh is the true and the living. To those who don't know Yahweh, this sounds like a great mystery. Sure it is. Deuteronomy 16:10. Deuteronomy chapter 16. You know, without love in your heart for yourself, You can't relate to my message. You'll have something else to do. And it seems so much more important. What can be more important than putting your Creator first in your life and learning how to do it? And then to learn how to be blessed. See, I'm teaching you how to be blessed. And how many understand that when you give to Yahweh, you can't ask for it back? See, when you understand the mystery of putting Yahweh first, you can't go to the bank and take it back. You have to keep adding to it. And that's a hard one to see, boy, especially when you see something you want. And you tell yourself, I'm going to put it back. I'll put it back next week. If you're going to put it back next week, wait till next week to get what you want. I busted that one, didn't I? Busted. You were trying to chill out in your house, you got busted. I'll take this $100 from myself and I'll pay myself back in 2 months. Wait 2 months. And you won't have to go through that heartache, that pain. But see, you still got to keep doing what you're supposed to have been doing. So don't try to play no game. I don't understand you going into your bank, taking out what you put there for your posterity. Because you have to understand, them that's got are the only ones shall get. In order to prime the pump, to get water, you must first have water. Deuteronomy 16, verse 10, read.
And thou shalt keep the feast of weeks unto the Lord thy God Yahweh, with a tribute of a freewill offering of thine hand, which thou shalt give unto the Lord thy God Yahweh, according as the Lord thy God Yahweh hath blessed thee.
Yahweh is not asking you to give from something he has not blessed you with. Yahweh is only asking you to give from that which he has blessed you with. What an unselfish man Yahweh is. What a gracious and wonderful and loving man Yahweh is. Whatever you get your hands on, it's not yours. I blessed you with it. So do your duty. And don't look at me saying I understand. I'm telling you now I don't understand. I'm straightforward and open and moral and honest. So I'm telling you up front, I'm never going to understand. But it got tight. I don't care how tight it gets. It doesn't get that tight that I'll understand. Clear on the point? You must keep the Feast of Weeks unto Yahweh. And you must give a free will offering. If you don't want to give it, I suggest that you don't, because I don't want it. It can't curse me, but it won't bless you. You need to have a good long talk with yourself and say, I'm going to give this without regret. I'm giving this of my own free will without regret. I'll never look back and say, I wish I hadn't given this to Yahweh. There's people sick enough to think like that. Yes, even you admit they have to be sick. Imagine someone saying, I wish I hadn't given that money to Yahweh. Wow, look what I would have. And then what are you going to do when Yahweh take back all he gave you? What are you going to do with whatever that is when Yahweh takes back from you all that he gave you? What did he give you first? Life. So if Yahweh decides to take back his gift from you, you sure can't stop him from taking it. Neither could you make him give it to you. It's his. The life you have is his. The L in you is his. And when you learn that beautiful truth, you're ready to be blessed. We've been unconscious of our true self. We have been so selfish that we failed in all that we did because we have been unconscious of the L. And when you're unconscious of your L, then you can't love yourself. So now I know everybody wants to get up and get a little exercise and march around for a minute or two. Have a wonderful time, and I'll see you tomorrow. Shalom Aleichem. Been a pleasure.